joining me today. I know you're busy with this investigation and with a lot of other things going on in California City. So I'll get straight to the point. I got some questions from people on Facebook and via Messenger, just asking about this investigation on the two boys missing in
Mhm.
California City, and I wanted to go through them with you. Some of them I couldn't include all of them, but here are a few of them. The first
Okay.
question: are the boys alive?
I have no reason to believe they're not at this time. Again, I've said it through this whole thing. I remain absolutely optimistic that they're alive, and I have to believe that unless I find some sort of proof or evidence of that it's different.
And what might have happened to the boys? What scenarios are possible in this situation?
There's 1,000 different scenarios that you know. Let your imagination run wild. Um, what I do truly believe is that night there is no way that they could have got out of that neighborhood without some sort of assistance from an adult. That's my belief.
And so, in past situations with missing cases, is that usually the case that it's someone familiar that is involved in the investigation or something like that?
Um, it's always situationally driven, and I can't point fingers. I mean, we always start from the inside out, of course. The people closest to them, the people who've seen them last. That's who we start with. We always look at family first, especially with kids that young. We have to. And then it branches out from there depending on which way the evidence goes. But we can only work with what we're given.
And earlier, I know in our first interview in front of the house on Aspen Avenue, you said that you suspected foul play. And do you still think that, and why or why not?
Absolutely. It goes back to I personally believe that there's no way those kids got out of that neighborhood without some sort of assistance. So if there was an adult that assisted them or took them out of the neighborhood, that would constitute foul play.
So, exactly, what constitutes foul play? It doesn't necessarily mean abuse. It just it means
Foul well, foul play means that someone has taken the children and not divulged to their parents where they're at. That's just, I mean, we'll start basic 101 right there.
someone else
And
got involved in the.
somehow, someone, absolutely. Again, if I believe that they didn't get out alone, so someone had to have done that and has not reported to us because everybody in the, I would imagine, at least in the nation now, knows we're looking for these kids, has not reported it, then that would constitute foul play because the only people those kids are supposed to be with are their parents.
So right now, are there any persons of interest?
Oh, there's dozens of persons of interest. We have nobody specific. We have no specific suspects, no specific people. No one's been charged. We brought no charges so far. But again, we're continuing the investigation. I know a lot of people believe we've given up. That's not true. We still get leads. We still get clues every day that we follow up on if they're viable. You know, I can't. If someone says, "Hey, we saw them at the Rite Aid yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning," am I going to send somebody over there to review the cameras from yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning? Absolutely, I'm going to. If somebody says, "Well, I think they're near the water somewhere," I can't follow up on that. I need specifics. So I need a direction to go. I just can't spin in a circle or have my people spin in a circle looking on a maybe or I think or I thought. But if you give me a specific place and a time or a specific person to talk to, we're still doing that. And it's not just us.
And going on that, as you say, that you're still working on this investigation, still,
I
invest.
have dedicated resources in my department. Uh, Bakersfield has dedicated resources in their department. We've got the FBI involved. We've got the Kern County Sheriff's involved. We've got the Kern County District Attorney involved. There's still a ton of people working on this. We have not by any means given up.
So recently, it was the 2 month anniversary of when the boys went missing, and I know it's been a while. And I've asked you this a few times because every time we speak, it seems like the days get longer and days turn into months. Is it possible that this case will go cold and that we'll never know what happened to these boys?
Of course, it's possible. I mean, anything is possible, but go cold, that would mean that we'd stop looking or we'd stop following up on clues, and that's not going to happen. We will continue to follow up on any clues. We will continue to do the follow up until we know something different. So there's a lot of semantics involved there. Cold case. What does that mean, really? A cold case is never really cold. It's just not being actively investigated. I've got 8 cold cases here at California City as we speak, and they're all being investigated on a daily basis. So, that's a TV term, I think.
Okay. I know the city is voting tonight, or they're deciding in the city council meeting to renew the reward money for anyone who can find the boys. And I know they're planning to do that consistently. They're trying to keep that money for any missing persons case. Even if we find
Correct.
Orrin Orson West, they might
Yes.
extend that money to other missing persons cases as well.
Mhm.
So it seems, that the city and that you are still, actively trying to pursue missing persons cases, even the ones that there's currently 8 cold case, or not cold cases, but previous missing persons cases still.
No, that's not true. We've only got 2 active missing persons as we speak. We've got eight um 8 cases that we're still investigating. 6 of those are homicides and 2 of them are missing. Now those are all adult cases.
Okay.
So again, a missing adult doesn't necessarily mean there was foul play. Could there possibly be? Sure. But adults are adults and they're free to go wherever they want to go, and they're not necessarily have to tell anybody where they're going. So someone reports a missing, okay, we've got an open missing person investigation that goes into our missing persons system. And if anybody nationwide comes in contact with that person, then that will immediately pop up on the database.
So are you starting to think that this case is part of something larger, something like human trafficking, or I know a lot of people ask me about that.
I can't rule that out. I can't rule anything out. Of course, it's possible. Anything, until we know different, everything is still in play. So, we need specific facts to prove otherwise.
And but just so you guys are considering all of these viable options.
Absolutely.
And how certain are you that the boys are not in the Aspen Avenue house? I know when you first did the interview, when you first spoke with us outside that house, that I think it was December 23rd, you told us, the canines smelled the scent of the boys inside the house. They didn't smell it leaving the house. It seems like that would imply that they're still there. And how certain are you that they're not?
Excuse me I have to smile on that. Like, I am 110% certain those boys are not in that house. I've been in there numerous times. We've searched every possible place in that house. I know people believe that there's secret rooms and there's a basement and there's false walls. And we've searched every possible nook and cranny in that house multiple times. And I am absolutely certain we've searched the backyard multiple times. We've searched underground the backyard with different technology multiple times with nothing. The dogs aren't always 100% accurate. We've had the dogs in the house. That night they alerted inside the house, but they didn't alert outside. Doesn't mean anything. We use those as tools that maybe will point us one way or the other. Just like people keep asking about polygraph. Polygraph is not it's not admissible in court. Is it a tool? Sure. Can I believe at some point that maybe that you are being deceptive by the results of the test? Sure. But it's only a tool. It's only a tool to help us go in a certain direction. But right now, we don't have any of that, unfortunately.
So did the adoptive parents take a polygraph test in the beginning?
I can't comment on that.
Is it possible that the boys wandered into the desert that night? I know you suspect foul play, but is that also something you're considering?
If I had to bet my house on it, I would say no, because we searched thoroughly that night. We brought in airship with infrared, no hits. Again, we searched that whole desert a week later within a 5 mile, 5 square mile perimeter around the house. We found nothing. It doesn't mean they're not there, but I am super confident that, I know little kids are really fast, but I know they have no stamina. So they might take off like a shot, but they're only good for 20 or 30 yards in my experience. But not saying that can happen, but I am super confident they're not somewhere around. I truly believe they just didn't wander off in the desert that night and we haven't found them.
It was also a very cold night. I believe I remember that
It was
day
so
I
cold.
checked, it was
It
about
was real
30
cold.
degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
And
Again, would slow them down.
could you explain that infrared technology you just mentioned? What was used?
Yeah, we basically had a helicopter with what they call the FLIR. A FLIR will detect body heat. Um, it's pretty sophisticated. I did have the opportunity in my previous career, law enforcement career, that I got to actually work in a airship, and it's basically like a scope that'll go over any territory, any land, and it'll pick up anything that's got body heat. And adults are generally, 98, 97, 98 degrees. It'll pick that up in the dark, and it shows up like a beam, basically.
Wow. So it's a helicopter that goes around and detects body heat, searching for body heat, basically.
It has the ability to do that, yes, along with other things. They've got the night sun. That's the big. They call that the night sun, the big light, that big searchlight. But also they're equipped with the FLIR, and the FLIR will pick up body heat.
Okay. And that was sent out the night that they went
It was
missing.
deployed that night, yeah, to the best of my knowledge.
Was it one or multiple?
I think we had at least one in the air the whole time. I don't know if it was the same one. A lot of times, most helicopters are they're only equipped to be up for 2 to 2.5 hours. So we were out there a pretty long time. So I would imagine they probably switched off at some point.
Yeah. There is one thing, I don't think anyone asked about this, but when I first met the biological mother of the two boys, she had mentioned how one of them had a broken femur. This was a couple of years ago. I know I saw it on the Attorney General's website as well, that Orrin
Mhm.
had a broken femur, the biggest bone in the body in his leg. Did the adoptive parents in that interview, did the bone heal at that point? Does he
Yeah,
still?
it had been years prior. I think even prior to them adopting the kids. So that was, to the best of my knowledge, that was ruled as an accident. That there was no, I'm sure there was an investigation done by Children's Services, and they found no misconduct.
Okay. No misconduct with the biological mother?
Yeah, with anybody. I believe, to the best of my knowledge, it was just ruled, an accident, that he broke his leg, he fell down somehow, and he broke his leg. However, that would be a good way to identify. That's a good identifier.
What is the surgery or the?
No, if we located a child that had a broken femur that was consistent with the injury that was sustained by the children, another way to ID the kids.
But it's not relevant in this situation because it's already.
No, it has nothing to do with their disappearance. No,
Uh,
not
it-
that I know.
okay, but I'm saying it's already healed at this point, so it's not
Yeah,
relevant to this.
yeah, it was a prior injury.
Is it possible that they're with extended family members right now? And have you done anything to pursue that possibility? Question extended family members.
Anything's possible, and we've questioned everyone around them. Again, like I say, we start with the immediate family and work our way out. So we've done our best to question anybody and everybody we think could possibly be related.
Mhm.
But I don't know how big. It's a pretty big family. So if someone had them, I guess that would be great if they're healthy and they're alive and we can find them. That would be awesome. So again, our best case scenario is we find them healthy and we find them alive.
And I remember that, again, referring to that first interview with you, you had said how none of the neighbors in that area had seen the boys.
I think I amended that though, because we did have some neighbors that said they never had even seen kids. Now, remember, they'd only been there for 3 months, September to December, when it occurred. We did find some neighbors that said they had never seen the kids. However, we did find neighbors who did confirm they had seen kids there on the property.
So that was later on. You
Yeah,
interviewed some neighbors.
that was actually shortly after. That's why I've tried to amend that multiple times. Initially, we couldn't find anybody who had seen the kids, but we did actually find other neighbors who had actually seen kids there.
So they had seen.
They'd only been there 3 months. COVID, all those things, cold weather, all that can attribute to that. They had a huge backyard with a big fence. So, and here in California City, you've been to the neighborhood. There's large vacant lots between the properties. So
Yeah. But I have asked you this a few times as well. I know you said the adoptive parents. Is it still true that the adoptive parents are the last people to have seen the kids?
According to the information we received that night from them, yes.
Yeah. There's been no one else after sightings of the kids ever since.
Multiple that we've all followed up on, but that proven to be false.
So the adoptive parents are considered the last people to have seen the kids. When and where was the last time anyone besides them saw Orrin and Orson?
I believe the grandmothers had seen them prior to. I don't know the exact dates, but the people that we have spoke to had seen them, other than the parents.
The grandmother. So that was the relative they visited before. It was like recently before they went missing, correct?
Yes.
When do the other children in the family say that they last saw the boys?
I can't comment on any of the interviews that we've had with the other kids.
So you've interviewed the other 4 kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And are the Wests still cooperating, Jacqueline and Trezell? Have they retained a lawyer?
Yes, they're still cooperating. I don't know if they've retained counsel or not.
Okay. So you're still in contact with them.
Yes.
I ask, when was the last time they were interviewed?
I think formally interviewed. It's been several weeks.
Are the members of the birth family cooperating as well?
Yes.
And have they retained a lawyer?
Not to my knowledge.
And when was the last time you spoke with them? Or interviewed them?
I personally, the last time I spoke with the biological mother, we actually spoke. It was a conference call on the day after the boys went missing.
Okay, so it's been quite a while since you last spoke with the biological.
Since I personally, yes. Other people have been in contact with her, but I have not.
Okay. Has anyone been instructed not to speak to the media, like the adoptive parents, the biological parents?
Not by us.
Okay.
Not by us. Maybe by their attorneys, but not by us.
Okay. Is there video footage that shows the boys in California City? I know the neighbor across the street had a doorbell camera. I know the neighbor to the left of the house, if you're facing the house to the left, also had a doorbell camera or like surveillance footage of the house. I know police, took that footage and analyzed it. Was there any footage that showed the 2 boys in?
We have hours of footage, and I can't comment on any of those.
Okay.
Any of that.
Okay. I called initially a few months ago. I know other people have called since regarding the initial 911 call for the 2 boys. I believe from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, it happened just before 6 p.m., correct?
It happened about 5:45 p.m.
At 5:45.
Well, let me correct that. The initial call for service came in about 5:45. We were on scene. My first officer was on scene within 5 minutes or less. That's the first one. And I think within 10 minutes, I had 4 officers on scene.
Is there a reason why the department won't release the 911 call? I tried to get it and didn't receive.
No, because it's still part of the investigation. It's an ongoing investigation, so we're not going to.
I mean, I've received 911 calls from ongoing investigations before, but I guess
we're not going to release it at this time.
Okay. So it's just because it's an ongoing investigation. That's
correct.
The main reason.
Correct. We're keeping it for now.
And I know we've talked about the evidence that you recovered in your searches of the home, around the home, and you had mentioned that none of it really came out with anything important. Could you mention any of the evidence that has been taken, and including forensics, anything that was relevant or important?
Um, you know, at the initial search warrant, we were able to take into custody all their electronic devices, their phones, their computers, um, uh, clothes, bedding, um, items from the backyard, items from the house, anything we thought could possibly be relevant and or lead us to, a conclusion.
So some of the clothes of Orrin and Orson to navigate the scent of them with the dogs and things like that.
Well, and for all DNA purposes and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so those things have helped in terms of that analysis, but it hasn't created any leads for finding
no,
the.
not yet.
And so you did mention, I knew this, that you took the phones of the two parents just a day or two after the two boys went missing.
Actually,
Um,
next day.
yeah, it was the next day.
Mhm.
I remember talking to them and they mentioned, the police took our phones. We can't share contact information or anything. Jacqueline West had mentioned having photos of the boys on her phone that
Mhm.
she couldn't share because police had taken her phone. Did you find anything significant on those phones? Did you find any pictures of the boys?
Yeah, we found pictures, but nothing else that I can disclose.
Is there a reason why no more pictures of the boys have been released so far? I guess the police department doesn't have access to those photos
I no longer have access to those photos. No, those actually were taken by the FBI.
by the
The photo.
FBI.
Mhm.
But the parents have since gotten the phones back.
I believe they have new phones now.
They have new phones. Wow. So the FBI just took their phones and
I believe they gave them back, but they have new phones.
you don't have access to any more recent photos of the boys. Is there a reason why Jacqueline hasn't released those photos to the public? I know a lot of people are looking for more recent photos of Orrin and Orson.
I can't speak to what her thought process is or what she's choosing to do or not to do.
Okay. And lastly, what can community members do to help in this search right now? Should they be searching in Bakersfield, in California City? Where's kind of an area?
Wherever they think that we're going to turn up these kids, I'm not going to turn down. I've said it multiple times. I'm not going to turn down any help. Anything they want to do to help us locate these kids is great. Um, but the majority of the calls that we're getting now are basically to tell us that we're not doing it right, and that takes up a lot of our time to even respond to that. I appreciate of course, I appreciate their interest. I don't want that's why I keep giving these interviews. I don't want people to stop thinking about these kids, and I don't want it to become a dead issue, and we stop looking. But I would like the focus to be on finding the kids. What can you give us that we can tangibly follow up on to find these children? To call us up and criticize, we're not doing a good job, or we should be talking to someone else, or we should be doing this, or we should be doing that. It's not productive. It's not productive, and it takes time because we try to be respectful and kind to anybody that calls. But just remember, the focus should be on finding the kids, not telling us uh, how to do our job. So that would be my biggest request. Keep your eyes and ears open. If you find anything we can follow up on, please call. Please call. We will follow up, I promise. And we have on each and every one of these tangible leads. But to just call us up and criticize us and ask us why we're not doing our job, that just takes a lot of time, and it's taking away the focus from the kids.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chief, for meeting up with me today.
Welcome. Thank you again for having me on. I want to keep the story out there, and I appreciate you guys doing that.